Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, and massive thanks to the subscribers as always. Really appreciate it. What I'm doing today is a follow-on from two other videos I've done, and they're Star Trek themed videos. And basically when Revenant Reads did a book trek themed month, a challenge, I was reminded how much I love Star Trek, and I thought it'd be nice to do some videos on Star Trek. And I did my top 10 episodes of the original series, then I did my top 10 Next Generation episodes, and now, because it's my favourite incarnation of Star Trek, I'm doing my top 20 Deep Space Nine episodes. So next month is going to be the Voyager episodes. I'm not going to do one for Enterprise, and I'm going to do my top 20 characters, which will include some of the newer characters as well. So I absolutely love Star Trek, always have since I was a kid. But Deep Space Nine took Star Trek into a whole new level of multi-layered character development, multi-layered story arcs, just so much more sophisticated and so much more to love. So, without further ado, these are my top 20 episodes of Deep Space Nine, the show that really pushed the envelope for what Star Trek is. So, number 20 is from Season 4, Episode 18, and it's called Rules of Engagement. It's written by Ronald D. Moore, who has spent a lot of his career writing for Klingons and for Worf in particular, on Star Trek, his career on Star Trek. And this is a lovely episode, which is all about Worf being on trial for being accused of blowing up a Klingon shuttle. And Odo investigates what is happening here because he doesn't trust the evidence, and the conclusion's really good, really interesting. And classic Deep Space Nine, it doesn't end with sort of heroic statements from heroes. There's a lot of grey area where Worf says something that's not particularly enlightened, and Sisko follows it on from something else that's a little bit more in the grey area. It's just really interesting. The dialogue in Deep Space Nine is so much more sophisticated than any other Star Trek I can think of. And that's a really great example of Worf being used really well in Deep Space Nine. My choice for number 19 is from Season 5, Episode 22, and it's called Children of Time. And this is a great concept where you've got this situation where the crew of the Defiant have crash landed on the planet, and it's like 200 years later, because they were never rescued, and 200 years later you've got the descendants of the crew of the Defiant, and you've also got, by nature of who they are and what they're made of, you've got Odo, who doesn't age in the same way, still there, and you've got a new version of Dax, because Dax is Trill. So the symbiont Dax is still alive, but it's a different kind of Dax. And these memories of the old crew and the descendants of the crew. And it's also quite a romantic episode, because there's a reveal of something that's been building up in previous episodes that's to do with someone's love for another character. And that's done really well. And it's just a really interesting, fascinating story that plays with time, plays with age, and plays with regret. All sorts of things. Really good episode. So that's my choice for number 19. My choice for number 18 is from Season 3, Episode 20, and it's Improbable Cause. And Improbable Cause is the first one I'm going to mention that's a spotlight on Garak. Now, Garak is such a fantastic character. Easily one of the best TV characters of any show anyway, but clearly one of the best Star Trek characters, and played brilliantly by Andrew Robinson. There's an incident on the station involving Garak, and it leads to an investigation into who Garak is and was, and what his role was in Cardassian government. And it's all very cloak and dagger. It's all about implication and suggestion, and it's the first introduction, I think, of the Obsidian Order, which is one of the Cardassian Secret Service kind of organisations. And it's just really interesting figuring out what is Garak and what's his role on the station, what was his role in Cardassia, and, you know, how much is he lying and, you know, living this alternative lie of a life kind of thing. So, yeah, Improbable Cause is really brilliant for that, and just a fantastic Garak episode. My choice for number 17 is from Season 2, Episode 26, and it's the Gemhadar. It's called the Gemhadar, and it's the introduction of the Gemhadar. And the Gemhadar were a fantastic invention on Deep Space Nine, which is this race of kind of reptilian-looking soldier aliens who are basically under the control of the drugs that they take that give them this great strength and that. But it's also that they get... they're desperate for a fix if they don't get this drug, and they're basically under the subservience of the founders, who are later called the Dominion, and they're the big bad villains of Deep Space Nine, and the Gemhadar are under their rule and under their control. And it's really interesting the way that this episode introduces them, because they have to interact with the crew, and it's just one of those multi-layered episodes where so much is introduced, and there's so much to come. You know, there's so much to come about the Gemhadar and the crew's relationship with them. So excellent episode there. That's my choice for number 17. My choice for number 16 is from Season 2, Episode 22, The Wire. Now, The Wire is another episode, focuses on Garak, and again, more intrigue, more confusion about who he was, more sarcasm and sidestepping from Garak. Fantastic dialogue as always. And you learn in this episode that he's got an implant that makes him resistant to torture. And, you know, if that's not a massive signal that he did get involved in some dodgy stuff on Cardassia, then I don't know what would be. So there's some great stuff in the episode. And, you know, yet again, Garak is at the forefront of this great dialogue and great acting. My choice for 15 is Season 2, Episode 15. And that's called Paradise. And this is an interesting one, because it's like Sisko and O'Brien get stuck on this planet, which is run by this authoritarian, and they created this little mini dystopia on this colony, and it's all about not using technology. And it all centres really around the treatment of Sisko and his defiance against her. And there's a really lovely twist at the end, which shows that this colony was a lot more than what it appeared. Paradise is really good. A little bit like a Next Generation episode, I reckon, as well. My choice for 14 is the first funny Ferengi one on the list. And that's from Season 4, Episode 8, Little Green Men. And Little Green Men is a really great episode where the main Ferengi, Quark and Rom, they end up being sort of accidentally being thrown back to 1947, and it basically tells the story of the Roswell incident with the Ferengi at the centre of it. And it's a really fun episode and a great sidestep that DS9 took sometimes, because so many of its episodes were very serious and dramatic. So it put these funny ones in, often with the Ferengi. So that was a really good one. My choice for number 13 is Season 4, Episode 25, and it's called Broken Link. This is a great showcase for Odo. Odo basically gets really sick, and he's not sure what's happening. He can't retain a form, because he's the shapeshifter, if I haven't said already and you haven't seen it. He's the shapeshifter in the DS9 crew, and he can't keep a form solid, and they can see he's not very well, and the rest of the crew decide to take him back to the Founders, which is his species, to try and get him fixed. And it's a really good episode that highlights Odo's character and the link to the Founders and all that sort of stuff. It's really, really good. My choice for number 12 is Season 4, Episode 2, and it's a really powerful, emotive episode called The Visitor. Now, this one is really interesting because you've got a situation where Jake Sisko, Commander Sisko, Benjamin Sisko's son, witnesses what looks like Sisko's death, but he's basically become unstuck in time, and he can't. He keeps sort of appearing now and again throughout Jake Sisko's life, and this is the story of Jake Sisko trying to fix that, trying to get his dad back, while having this appearance now and again as he gets older and has his own family and stuff like that. And Tony Todd plays the older Jake Sisko, and the three main actors, so obviously Avery Brooks because he's phenomenal, and Tony Todd as the older Jake Sisko, and the younger Jake Sisko, the normal one, Kurt Lofton. All three of them do amazing performances in this really, really powerful episode. So I'd advise anyone to watch The Visitor anyway, regardless if you're following the overall story arc of Deep Space Nine. The choice for number 11 is Season 6, Episode 10, The Magnificent Ferengi. And this is a really funny episode. It's a brilliant episode about the Ferengi, where Quark's mother has been kidnapped. I think it's by the Cardassians, and he gets a bunch of Ferengi together. Clearly it's 7 because they're playing on that with the title of the episode, and the idea is that they're going to rescue Quark's mother, but it's just farcical what happens. It's very funny, and to give you a clue, there's a bit of a Weekend at Bernie's thing going on by the end of the episode, and it's really, really good. And it's another sort of palate cleanser with all the dramatic stuff happening on the show. My choice for number 10 is from Season 7, Episode 24, Dogs of War. Dogs of War is right at the end of the entire series, and the war has been going on for quite a long time, but there's loads of things that happen in Dogs of War that basically set up the finale, and it's just so powerful and it's so thrilling. And by this point, you're so immersed in the Dominion War that all these different characters doing different things and switching sides and all sorts is so brilliant. So, yeah, Dogs of War is a really good example of Deep Space Nine right in the thick of the Dominion War. And my choice for number 9 is from Season 7 again, Episode 8, and it's The Siege of AR-558. This is a really interesting episode where the crew of the Defiant, Sisko and Dax and all these other people, decide to help out an outpost that is guarding something really important that's going to help them with the Dominion War. And basically they're getting these constant attacks from the Cardassians, and this just basically shows you the brutality, the futility, the horror, and the desperation of ground warfare. And it's so well done. It's beautifully played. It's really horrific. It's very sad. It's done. It's pitched perfectly, and also there's a lovely guest appearance from Bill Mumy, which was a nice thing to see. But no, the whole episode is so powerful, and it does a really nice, strong anti-war message in there. So that's really, really good. The Siege of AR-558. The choice for number 8 is Season 4, Episode 21, For the Cause. And this is the first one out of the 2 I'm going to list that are based around the story arc of the Marquis. And For the Cause is such a brilliant introduction, if you like, in a big way, of the Marquis. It's another one written by Ronald D. Moore. I mentioned him earlier. And it's a really lovely episode where Caster Yates, who's Sisko's girlfriend, is being accused of helping the Marquis with delivering stuff on a freighter. And basically that's played out with Sisko not really sure whether he can trust her and all that kind of stuff. And then there's like this final moment where the truth is revealed about who is in the Marquis, and there's just this fantastic finish where this particular character, I'm not to say who it is, this particular character just basically squares up with Sisko at the end, and it's such a brilliant ending. So that's For the Cause. My choice for number 7 is Season 1, Episode 19, Duet. Duet is a really, really interesting bottle episode. So one of those episodes where they haven't spent a lot of money on the budget, and it's all about characters. Usually bottle episodes are often just between 2 or 3 characters, and this is like 2 characters at loggerheads. You've got Kira Nerys, played fantastically by Nana Vista in this episode, and Harris Yulin doing a guest star. He's brilliant as this Cardassian who Kira Nerys thinks and wants to prove is an ex-torturer from a concentration camp who murdered lots of Bajorans. And it's a real battle of wits. You don't know where the truth is in the episode. When it comes to the last 5 minutes of the episode and the truth is revealed, it's so powerful. It's brilliant. And it's just great scripting. And a really, really good example of why Deep Space Nine is as good as it is, and why it went places that most Star Trek didn't bother going. So that's my choice for number 7. Number 6 is Season 4, Episodes 1 and 2, The Way of the Warrior. This is the introduction of Worf, which was a fabulous moment. It kicked off Season 4 in a big way, massive budget, feature-length episode. It's got huge sort of space battles in it between the Klingons and the Cardassians, but it's also got great character work with Worf and Sisko, and it's just an amazing episode. So Way of the Warrior, it's a great way to introduce someone to Deep Space Nine as well, I think, if you think they're kind of into action and stuff. But yeah, really, really good two-parter. And my choice for number 5, so I'm in the top 5 now. The choice for number 5 is from Season 5, Episode 6, Trials and Tribulations. So this was the most expensive episode of Deep Space Nine, and it's a massive example of fan service, where for the 30th anniversary of Star Trek, they brought the main crew of Deep Space Nine back in time to Kirk and Spock's days, and basically they had them on the bridge and on the ship, basically on the Enterprise, during the original series episode Trouble with Tribbles. So they're interacting with what happens in that episode. It's very clever. I mean, there's a great example of the DS9 crew being mixed with the original series crew when there's a lineup and Kirk's having to go at them for the bar fight. Stuff like that. Fantastic. It was such a great episode. And you get that bar fight is a really fun thing to watch, but you also get this lovely moment at the end of the episode where Sisko speaks to Kirk, and it's just really, really magical. So that's a really great one. My choice for number 4 is Season 5, Episode 13, For the Uniform. This is such a fantastic marquee episode. So I mentioned the other one earlier, and this one is one of those episodes. There's a couple that I'm mentioning here as well, where it shows Sisko's dodgy moral compass. So he is unlike any other captain in the sense that he sometimes got really obsessed with getting this thing done, and it would be like, no matter what it costs, means justify the ends. Very dodgy in places, and absolutely amazing to watch, with fantastic acting. And he always looked like he was torn. He didn't want to go through those processes, but he did some things that were well dodgy. And that is true for this one, For the Uniform. It's so good. So this is him chasing after the Maquis that were terrorists against the Federation, and he does anything he can to get this guy. It's just powerful, really powerful. Number 3 is Season 7, Episodes 25 and 26, and it's basically the last ever episodes, What You Leave Behind. Absolutely beautiful ending to the entire series. Deep Space Nine was different to the other series because it was a station, a space station. It was all about consequences. It was all about relationships and how these story arcs developed, rather than sometimes on the other shows you'd have something major happen and then they forgot about it next episode. You never had that with Deep Space Nine, and with the way that Deep Space Nine ended, because of that, it literally took about 13 episodes to actually finish everyone's story arc and finish the war. And I thought that was amazing they did that. So most of Season 7 is the ending of Deep Space Nine, which I think is really brilliant. And the last episode closes their stories beautifully and actually finishes off with a big kind of standoff between Sisko and Gul Dukat, who's the main Cardassian villain. So amazing episode. My choice for number 2 is Season 6, Episode 19, In the Pale Moonlight. I cannot state how amazing this episode is. It's Star Trek at its best, but it's also Star Trek in a form that some Star Trek fans don't like. It's very dark, it's very grey, as in the moral compass and the sort of right and wrong with what's going on here. It's Sisko really doing something really extremely dodgy and questionable for the right reasons, if that's the right way of saying it. He manipulates lots of people and lies to the Romulans to get them to join the war. And he knows that it would save lives, but he's also deceiving people to make it happen. And he gets Garrick involved because he knows that Garrick is a liar and would do those things. And it's just so brilliant. The dialogue's incredible. If you just look on YouTube for random clips from that show, because in the Pale Moonlight it's so incredible, and you can see the guilt that is weighing Sisko down. The acting is phenomenal, and you can see how he felt like he had no other choice but to do it, but he's also angry with himself that he did it. And it's just beautifully written. So in the Pale Moonlight is my choice for number 2. And my all-time favourite Deep Space Nine episode, which I was absolutely shocked me when I saw it. I thought, this is really, really special. And that was from Season 6, Episode 13, Far Beyond the Stars. Far Beyond the Stars is extremely clever. It's beautifully written, very, very powerful. Directed by Avery Brooks. And Avery Brooks, who plays Sisko, if you didn't know, does this incredible performance. And basically the idea of this episode is that Sisko gets transported back to 1950s America, 1953 I think it is, America, and he's this writer who writes for this newspaper. And basically there's this photo opportunity thing, and they don't want him to appear because they don't want the public to know that he's black. And they also do this to Kira Nerese's character, Nana Visitor's character, because they don't want anyone to realise that she's a woman. And so that's kind of a bit of a side sort of story, if you like, because a lot of it focuses on how Sisko reacts to this. And he's called Benny Russell in this sort of fantasy story about this writer and his struggle to try and have some sort of status in this world as a writer and as a black writer. And it's just beautifully written. The acting is phenomenal, and it does end with this really, really powerful performance and speech from Avery Brooks at the end as Benny Russell. And it's just incredible to watch. And another little nugget with this episode is that the cast is all out of makeup. They all look like normal humans. So you got the Cardassians and the Klingons and all that are basically in normal human features. And that's quite a nice little, not quite gimmick, that sounds like a negative word, but just little nugget that you can enjoy in the episode as well. So that's a lot of fun. But it's such a powerful episode with really important message, delivered beautifully with this phenomenal performance at the centre of it. So those are my choices for my top 20 Deep Space Nine episodes. It is such a special show. When it came out, lots of people complained that it wasn't Star Trek because it was darker, it was a space station, and it had a different setup from previous Star Treks. And it's just so lame and pathetic, really, when people go, well, that's not Star Trek, you know. So, like, you know, they said it about Next Generation because it wasn't Kirk and Spock. They've been saying it lately because they haven't liked something about it. Said, well, I'm not going to even consider it being Star Trek. It's ridiculous. It's got Star Trek on the title, whether you like it or not, you know. And Deep Space Nine does have, as I've been trying to say through this entire thing, some of the best features of Star Trek, and definitely some of the best episodes, definitely some of the best acting, and it's just a phenomenal series. Easily my favourite Star Trek series, and I'd love to know what you think of my choices. There are so many others I could have chosen, but really it's the characters and the acting that make it. But it was very ambitious and had that huge Dominion War at the core of the story. So there we go. Deep Space Nine. What a show. What a show.